So now that it's actually 10:45, we'll go ahead and get started. And I'll call the finance meeting of the town of Canandaigua to order. Purpose of going over financially related items on the agenda. I will turn the time over to Doug to share any thoughts or ideas, raise any questions, and anyone. Hi, John. Good morning.
I didn't recognize you.
I know, I was gonna say, has everyone seen this yet?
I like it. You're like a whole new person.
Thank you. I think you found your new Santa Claus for Christmas.
Yeah. What did Chuck
I even
say
have the
yesterday?
belly too.
You got the whole, you got everything.
I got it all working.
You got it all working.
Chuck said it balanced it was like the balance of hair for the face or something.
Pull the hat down.
Well, somebody asked me the other last night if I could grow a comb over.
Oh, your
The
kids would
beard.
love, your kids would love that. They would. Love being seen
All
doing
about
that.
that.
Okay. So we have our 20 and 29. Our standard.
Yeah, just real quick, the transfer, there's two transfers. One was relating to lifeguards, just closing out the year with that. And the other relates to moving some money because Kim Burkhardt is taking on some additional responsibility. It's $5,000 in helping with the interim while the development office is down some staff as we're trying to find a new zoning officer. So,
Is she doing that temporarily then?
yes.
Oh.
Yep. Okay, so the resolution 230.
Looks like we have our price tag for the water main breaks.
Hmm.
Yes, although this may not be complete based on a conversation I had with
Okay.
Jim. And I know that, so this is only kind of step one. There's going to be another resolution. So there's some road repair that needs to be done. And what I was talking to Jim about is the water district reimbursing the highway department for the road repair that had to be done because it was the water break. So Kate is, Kate's with us. Kate, this is essentially a Band-Aid, I think, at this point, and then we have to get the rest of that. So
Yeah, this allows the general ledger for 8340, 440 not to run over. So we're just pulling it from some other places, and then we'll have a transfer between funds once that is finalized.
I think he was also gonna put a couple of valves in different places in that area.
yeah.
Would that be part of this?
And
or-
part of a future resolution, because that's going to have some additional costs and stuff that we don't have yet. Just also, speaking of budget transfers, Jim just informed me too, and we were talking about it. We're going to have to do another budget transfer. We'll do a temporary one in the interim, but the October town board meeting, the fuel cost with them being up, we're over on the fuel line. So anyway, just so everybody's aware.
Do we know if those water main breaks were in one of the areas where we were talking about targeting for the system to check for the AC?
No, it was actually it was plastic pipe.
It was last.
Yeah, I asked that question too, is it ACP? He said, no. They've been in the ground over 30 years though, so why it ruptured, we really didn't know, but
Okay.
And it just happened to be a main section coming
Yeah.
off of down from the new
Yeah.
tank that had been there.
And
So,
not in the middle of winter or anything. Yeah, that's weird.
No.
Okay. All right, thanks. Just.
Kate, the next one is finally closing out, thanks to all your hard work, 26W. That's the, that was the big new water tank project. And that's finally closing that.
Yeah, it's super, super exciting to finally be finished. And that also includes a transfer back to the water fund of a loan that was sent out in the beginning. So it'll bump up the fund balance for SW 500 at the end of the year as well.
So the next resolution, 232, is your resolution as the town board, declaring the tentative budget that I presented to you as your preliminary budget, establishing the public hearing for the October town board meeting. It also, the resolution does publicly spell out that we'll have the budget workshop meeting on September 21st at 6 that we had talked about. And then if needed again on October 3rd, 2022 at 6 here at the town hall. Just, I know some of it's new, Terry, this repeat for you, but and Jared. But so the way this works is you can make any changes at all you want to the preliminary budget, you as a town board. So, and Gene and I had a conversation about this. Your budget workshop meeting on September 21st. The way I look at that is we'll go through the budget. You will be giving me direction on any changes that you want. And then at the October town board meeting, there would be a resolution with whatever changes it is that you want that would actually formalize the changes. And then you would be adopting those changes to the preliminary as your adopted budget.
After, and that's after the.
After the public hearing,
because
right.
that's
Yep.
what You're talking about the way. to do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? No, there will be. There will be.
3 pages in right now.
All right, so the next resolution, it's not really a financial impact. This is the subdivision of land, local law that we've talked about. I don't know if anybody has any questions on that.
No, I did like the
The new piece.
change, the new piece in there, yeah. And that clarifies it and it helps with the 1 or 2 issues that might be in that
Right.
area, but it just helps.
1 or 2, I think, is underscored. Appointment of finance clerk too. So we did interviews. Lindsay, why don't you take this away?
Yeah, so we did interviews with 3 qualified candidates that had applied through the Ontario County site, and we did make a selection. Her name is Jessica Mull. She has a very good background with some basic finance, so this would be a natural step in the progression of her career. She was the principal account clerk for Seneca County, so she just has background experience. So she will be starting with us on Monday, actually. So her starting salary is going to be $52,000. When she completes her finance clerk 2 exam and successfully passes that exam, then her salary will go up to $55,000. So this is an appointment provisional that she passes the finance clerk 2 exam when it's offered.
Do we know when that's offered?
Not yet.
Yeah. those-
Sometimes they take
Mhm.
months.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Or more.
Mhm.
but we're very excited to have her on board. I know Kate's excited to train her.
Excellent.
I'm very excited. She's, that's
Good.
good candidate.
Good.
So
Yeah, of the 3 candidates, she was far and away the best. I think she actually knew more than she thought she knew. Some of the questions were asked, she
and Doug hit her pretty hard. It hit all 3 of them pretty hard. So, yeah,
was very impressive. I thought, so.
Is she-
Very nice personality,
yeah.
should fit in with the group.
Mhm.
So,
She from this area or from Seneca County?
She lives just outside of Geneva. Hey, Kate or Sarah, could one of you send Jim the phone number to call into this, please? He just sent a text message to me. So,
I just texted it to him.
okay, thank you. Any other questions on that? Okay, the next resolution is acceptance of the planning board's annual report. They're required to provide an annual report to you as the town board, so that is attached to your agenda. I admit I have not had a chance to look at it yet, so, but the next resolution is accepting a preliminary engineering report for the proposed County Road 28 sewer district and authorizing me to execute those documents at a cost not to exceed $30,000.
And that 30 will come from ARPA.
That 30 would actually come from the general
Okay.
fund.
All right.
And then general engineering, and then when you're ready to create a capital project, we would want to do that and then appropriate the ARPA money over to that for all that. So this is that first step, remember, where they actually go through the analysis
Yeah.
and help create the petition for the residents and
Mhm.
all that.
Do we anticipate that costing around 30?
The proposal is 30,000 even. So. Any other questions on that? Okay. The next resolution is more of a formality in pushing this to you, but I don't know that Terry or I, either one support asking you to actually approve this resolution, but we wanted to advance it at the request of the LDC. The LDC bylaws require that for any changes to the bylaws, all 3 members need to change the bylaws. The 3 members being the city of Canandaigua, the town of Canandaigua, and now the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. there'd been some back and forth for a number of years now about possible expansion of the board of the LDC. And the city actually did pass their resolution in support of the expansion of the LDC board. And the attachment actually has the rules on what that would be. Based on recent experiences with the LDC, I'm much more excited. Let me say it this way. I'm much more excited about the economic development, prosperity, and prospects for the town of Canandaigua through our Uptown Business Improvement District than I am the LDC. And, if we expand the board, I don't know what that gets us currently.
I agree. I really don't think it's necessary. I think the push to expand the board didn't come from within the board. It came from outside. People that would like to be on the board that aren't.
Are these non-resident people?
No, they're residents.
Okay.
But my experience this year, until this year, I don't think I attended a LDC meeting. No, I'm president all of a sudden. But my experience with it this year is everybody that wants to speak has the opportunity to do it. Anybody, and we've had a number of people come to the meeting, express their opinion on something or bring up a new idea. And they're listened to, and the board doesn't act like an insular board. I mean, they bring in those ideas and they allow, free exchange of ideas, and sometimes those ideas are incorporated, sometimes they're not. But based on that, I don't see any reason to expand the board. I mean, people can express their opinions, as I said. The board is presently composed 5 people. Make it 7 or 9 or some bigger number. It just, to me, the larger a committee or board is, the more difficult it is to try to get direction and focus. So I really don't, I would vote against it myself.
And as someone who's gone to most of the LDC meetings, I don't remember ever discussing this within the context of an LDC meeting. Have they been bringing this up somewhere?
Well,
I
It's
mean,
been going on for a long time.
it's been brought up.
I've
but
heard
not-
people,
Not by the board, but
Yeah.
by people. You know who it is. I mean,
Yeah.
one
So
guy
the-
in particular.
So the board, as constituted, is able to function and function well.
Yeah.
Community members are free to give input and ask questions.
There's privilege on the
attend,
floor.
yeah. And I've seen many times that they've had that opportunity, people from the outside can come in and present and ask and share.
Mhm.
So then what you're saying is by going to more would muddy the waters, could create, there's no benefit, no direct
No, no
benefit of
benefit
going, adding more.
Yeah, I think that the people that would lobby the most to be those in that expanded group already attend meetings when there's some issue that they're concerned with.
Right.
They express their opinion is listened to and heard and acted upon or not based on what the board, I don't see any advantage.
And down the road,
It's just
the more other voices you add, you could have, you open the door for ineffectiveness
Yeah.
and other issues that you don't have right now.
and there are,
What effect does our no vote have on any changes? Would the changes not occur if we say no?
All
That
three,
is correct.
all three have to, so the
Changes.
chamber board would have to as well, they'd have to.
it has to be unanimous.
Okay.
So if we say no, then it just stay the way it is now, and, each of us has the ability, the city and the town to, nominate people to be on that board, so. for LDC.
So I'm just trying to look at this now. What are they asking for? Is that this section C?
Mhm.
what they're
The appointment of directors.
Yeah, so it would actually increase it. So Adeline, go back to your original question. Officially, the LDC board last year took a position to support the expansion if all
Oh,
3
okay.
members. But that's a different LDC board. They were
Yeah.
different members. There
Yeah.
was more than half of the members changed at the end of the year.
Yeah.
So it's a majority new board. So I don't know that I don't think this board, the new LDC board, has actually taken a position
Yeah.
one way or the other. on it.
No, we brought up as an issue that wasn't resolved.
Correct.
That's the only discussion. you-
Exactly.
And it wasn't, nobody really advocated at that meeting. Yeah, we gotta get more people in here. Read it.
Because the one question, other question I had with that is in Article 4C. And I'm looking at the red line version now. That says town board of the town of Canandaigua shall appoint one elected member of the town board and one additional director, removing town resident. So it could be the resident requirement
Mhm.
is no longer in there.
Right.
Somehow that reads switch.
And that's because the city's appointment is actually a town resident and not a city resident, so that's why they asked to
Okay.
strike that. The big thing that really, the big change here is, but you're right, it does strike out the word resident, and you can see there at the top of the last page of the attachment under C there, you see where it strikes out city resident and has the words additional director. If the board expansion occurs, one additional seat each shall be appointed by the town board and city council respectively. Vacancies will be filled in the same manner in which this vacated seat was originally appointed. So that's really the change, allowing the board to go from 5 to 7. And I
So
know
it's
there was
adding
talk
one
about-
from the city, one from the town, and not from. the
That is
chamber.
correct.
And it doesn't put a limit. I read it correct.
I think there is, I just have to find it. I want to say it's either 7 or 9.
If board, because I couldn't see. Some of you guys might have better eyes than I do to see those.
It's been a while since we went through.
Yeah.
this. Well, what happened was the town board originally passed this last year. And the city council didn't.
Oh.
And then the city council made changes, which is why it had to come back to the town board. But I think the makeup is
Yeah,
altered since the original.
and I agree too, and you need to get that.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
Votes passed by majority or supermajority?
Majority. 3, currently 5 members of the LDC board, you
You
mean?
mean,
Yes.
Of the LDC board.
The LDC board.
Yeah, so it's 5 voting members, 3.
And
constitute.
will remain this, would remain the same with increased membership, or would it be a supermajority?
No, it'd still be a majority.
Thank you.
I think to your point about the bid, that we need to have an organizational meeting for it. Still, that has the opportunity, we have more potential for opportunity and development through that. So I had reservations too about this, and I remember, reservations prior, even though we did pass.
well,
Came through as the more you think about it.
it's being recorded, I know, but I'm not really, yeah, I'm sitting in the position as president of this thing, but the city and the town are gonna do what's best for the city and the town. And one of the big projects, if you will, that the LDC has is helping to coordinate infrastructure, needs and development, and where do we need to go? You said in a lot of the meetings too, Jen. And before the meeting, I get a call from Jared.
Shepherd.
Yeah,
Shepherd.
Other
Shepherd.
Shepherd, began with S, but I couldn't.
I mean, I know I'm starting to forget things, but I don't remember telling you for every meeting.
And, wondering what we've done in that area, and then it gets presented at the LDC meeting, and likewise with the city has an engineering consultant looking at their water infrastructure and such, and it's redundancy that I just wonder how the LDC is really gonna help the town progress. There are some, math good at finding sources, grants, things like that and all that, but we have access to them too, so
And that can
I
still
just
happen,
have some
right?
reservations about the whole thing.
Well, not to open a giant can of worms,
But
but I will. We used to have, and still have, and it's even on this agenda, an economic development committee, which is where the LDC came from. And that was obviously a town-based economic development committee. which had town interests at heart, helped write the form-based code and helped create the LDC. I don't know if we want to re-engage that group again.
Well, there are advantages in the connectivity of the, uptown to the lakefront. I mean, there are some efforts, that are within their purview, trying to coordinate that. I mean, it sponsored the DRI application last year between the city and the town, which covered, uptown to the lakefront, and all. So I mean, there are some things there that having that group serve as a kind of a master of ceremonies, if you will, to pull some of that together is advantageous, but I mean, it's really hard to pin down what how do we move into the future by virtue of this group?
Well, that's what I'm
We've had
saying.
those discussions.
Yeah, and
I know it's,
give you my nickel's worth, and I share your frustration. However, on the plus side, I think, I'm not sure that the city would have gotten to the point of submitting an application for a grant for the lakefront work if it had not been for the LDC and for the town listening to the concerns and backing out of that grant application. And I also think that, and believe me, I'm as frustrated with that LDC just sitting there listening as a participant, as a town resident as anybody is, but I don't see any other forum within which the town and the city really communicate and share issues and concerns. That's the only place that it happens. So if we're committed for the next couple of years, which I believe we are, I think we ought to work through it, and maybe in the next year or two, there'll be some positive outcome from it. But I agree with Terry, and I share all of his concerns, and it does get very frustrating sitting there listening to it, but those are my thoughts, my nickels worth.
well, it is a forum where the town, the city, and the Chamber of Commerce, which is, I mean, their interest is in seeing the economic vitality and growth of the area, now including Victor. And it is a forum for people to get down and talk like that, which may or may not occur, although, I mean, I know you guys have conversations with, with John Gooden, with Pat Palumbo, and,
And I think we
those
can,
occur, but
we can still, if this weren't to be there, it doesn't preclude those opportunities.
Oh, no.
We can have joint meetings with,
Sure.
with the city council and with the chamber board. And I have the concerns that you guys both have expressed. I mean, that's just because when we renewed the contract, I didn't vote to support it because of those same concerns.
well, we cut it in half,
Yeah.
the financial support,
Well, and
because there were
that's,
these concerns.
that's
So,
my point about, though, the Economic Development Committee too. I mean, we could task our Economic Development Committee with giving our thoughts to the LDC on what's important to us that they be doing for economic development in town Canandaigua, and how they can refocus on not just the city issues, but the town issues.
I do think as we develop the bid for Uptown,
that'll
it's
take a
gonna
lot
become,
of, that'll be a lot of the focus.
yeah, maybe the LDC isn't a monthly get together, maybe it's quarterly or something like that, just to provide that forum for what's going on, come together and collectively say, okay, we got this going, we got that. I mean, but that's yet to be determined, of course.
Well, and potentially their most useful place to us is in figuring out infrastructure links for the entire area, because that's
Yeah.
where, I mean, that's where we can all spend money together to figure out.
Well, yeah, but I mean, and that would occur. I mean, obviously we have to work with the city because that's where the water comes from. They own the treatment plant.
In our town.
But, yeah, so I mean, but those discussions, as Karen said, I mean, we would have those anyway. Either.
Mhm.
So,
Well, keep in mind whether you vote yes or no for
This
this,
doesn't
it
change,
doesn't
this
change
doesn't
the
change the
current.
structure. It's
Right.
just,
Yeah.
It
right.
just doesn't expand it.
It doesn't expand it. It's not, yeah, right. It sounds like we're talking about a yes or no, continue or no. It's,
Right.
it's
Oh, yeah.
still, it's still on the books.
We
It's
know.
still, and
Yeah.
I agree. I think we leave as is. I think we
Yeah.
keep going forward and like, John was saying, pull as much good out of it. Do the best to pull as much good out of it as we can.
It
So
does
do we
give
still
us
have to
that.
bring that as a vote, or I mean, can we just
This, yeah.
Yeah,
We have, this is, we still have to vote on this. Because it's a change.
Who's gonna bring that one up?
Well,
None of us are
Garrett,
gonna
well, you
want
would still need to make a
Yeah,
motion in a
just,
second and then have the
Yeah.
conversation, right? But that would be an opportunity for you
That
guys to
doesn't-
share.
And it's,
Keep in mind, the city manager is gonna be at this meeting.
right, and it's an opportunity to
And
share
so-
those.
Right.
And I think we should do more of that at our Monday meetings,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
agree.
some of this discussion, just to have it out there for those that, I'm sure, you know, Kate and Sarah are enthralled by our discussions right now, but.
I think we already lost one of them.
Yeah, and,
Can't see
but
'em up
to have that out there and in the minutes, and that I
Oh,
think,
sure.
you know, sharing some of those candid thoughts, because that hearing it in public and hearing those thoughts and concerns that were brought up, I think that's good for other ears to hear.
Especially if we're intending to know.
Other ears to hear as well. We're gonna be there. Okay,
I'll probably get drummed out at the next meeting.
Okay, so
So
the
be
next,
so be it.
the next resolution accepts easement, and there's nothing really financial about this. It's just accepting the easements for Center Point, the new apartments. Stormwater management agreement, and then, okay, so that's those two. The last one, does anybody have any questions about those? Are both standards?
No.
The very last one here is allowing a referral to the planning board for an advisory opinion from the planning board to you for a mixed use overlay application that has been received by the clerk's office relating to 2435 Brickyard Road.
Which is, that's
That large parcel. That's the, and I know that
It's,
there's
it's
attachment.
straps
for-
behind the bus
Yeah,
garage.
Right,
Behind
it's
the
the
bus
one that,
garage,
yeah.
all that
girls
stuff.
kind of behind bus garage
It's,
area.
it's that big 100 acres between the different projects, or the different parcels, but this focuses specifically on one portion of that that would move that to more of a, from an industrial to a residential component, I guess generally is how I would say that, so.
So,
All this resolution does is it refers it to the planning board. That's step number one, to get an advisory opinion back from the planning board in terms of whether or not they think it's fitting for the area or not, and then you can get into your real deliberation.
And this is what we went through before by referring to the planning board. It's not
Doesn't
support
convey
or
anything.
rejection. It's
Right.
not, it's not an
Yeah.
approval. It's just a motion
just
to go to the next step.
because I thought we had been talking in the past about trying to add industrial land in that neck of the woods. As opposed to remove it.
Yeah, so this would be using it for residential, right? So this is, you bring up a very, very valid point, Adeline. This parcel with the neighboring two parcels that are not currently zoned industrial are some of the most available industrial types of property in the entire Finger Lakes region. I cannot remember a week, I'm not even joking about this. I cannot remember a week where I have not been contacted by GRE about these particular parcels. After we originally submitted them as part of Project Kent, they're constantly looking at these parcels for industrial type uses. But there are some limitations. The rail access currently does not go to this property. There's a sewer issue that this property is going to need a pump station. There's some questions about the availability of gas and electric at the parcel. The water doesn't have the current capability to supply the volume that's been requested by 3 different, what we believe are microchip manufacturers, because they use laser waters, all that stuff. So there's some real challenges with the parcel. Keep in mind, additionally, the landowner or the entity right now that has the control of the parcel has an option agreement, from what I understand, that expires in 2025. And their agreement basically, they don't want to sit and wait for it to become industrial. They're looking to move forward, and the path of least resistance for them, they feel like, is residential. Now, that may or may not be what the town wants, but that's what the landowner is requesting at this point. That's where we really, probably the first step is get the advisory opinion back from the
See what
planning
they
board,
say,
then
then
you
we
can
can
have all
really
those
Break it down
conversations.
into details.
And it's not in any part of the form-based code, right?
No,
It's just
no.
outside. of that.
Yes, just outside that. It's in the mixed use overlay just outside of that.
And that's what did I count? 18
Yeah, I think so.
18 homes.
I'd request to change again tomorrow.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
exactly.
I could.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that 24. Okay. That just passes it up, you know, sends it down the food chain.
Yeah.
All right.
Can I ask a weird question? I was trying to get through, if you guys go into attachment 2. And where it says page 17 or 7 of 17. The line towards the bottom there, the SD 600. What's up with the, did I miss something on the 332 drainage? What is that about?
That's a drainage district. That's one of our separate drainage districts. And so that what that's showing you is there's been fiscal activity this year of
Okay.
$33,952 that's been charged to that district. So that's just showing you the fiscal activity there. So we'd have to look at the budget to see what was budgeted. I'm pretty sure
It was an
75,000.
encumbrance.
It was an encumbrance for last year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
But then there's, that's actually showing you what happened there. And then there'll be
Okay.
more activity for. that.
Correct, only partial has billed.
Okay, thank you, Kate.
Right, so does anybody else have anything to bring up?
I think Jim's got background.
I think Jim's back in the golf cart.
Yell for
No, he did not. All right, so if there are no further questions, any other questions, one more time? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to go into a brief executive session for
Real property.
the sale, discussion, acquisition of real property or public discussion for the value. All right,
You can invite.
all right, we're back.
JK,
Hey.
Bye, Kate.
there's all those law books behind
Look
you.
at that.
Look at that.
So
I know, I'm in the
official.
library. There's lots of them.
Fabulous.
I'm in the corner.
Okay, hopefully it's the working part of the library. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We don't have any action to take, so motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, meeting is adjourned.
Thank you for letting me sit in the executive session.